there was a time where I went through all the people I followed, and I still do when people like seep through. And I'll think to myself, why did I follow this person originally? AKA, like, what did I want to be influenced in?
It's how much of what you're consuming is helping you be a better person, helping you have a better, rich, dynamic, positive life, helping you become a better leader or better spouse or better business owner or whatever it is. So yeah, very, very important. Every decision you make is predicated on the inputs that come into your consciousness. And
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1312, 2 of the most important things to know about yourself. Today, for episode number 1313, are you listening to the right people? So Alan suggested a book to me. It is the 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In this book, I'm a little goofy because this is our 4th or 5th episode, and we've been jeffing, haven't been recording a lot of episodes in a day, so I'm a little delusional at this point. In this book, John Maxwell is talking about, or he was talking about, how things really started to shift when they would show certain things on television. So I think it was like the 1960s, there was only a couple channels. And eventually there were more channels, and the presidential debates were on there, and eventually MTV was on there. A lot of things happened. I wasn't around in the 60s. Alan wasn't around in the 60s, but I can imagine there wasn't a lot of good programming on the tube, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I mentioned in I think in the previous episode, this was going to be kind of a hyper-conscious episode. I want you to really think about this for a second. Before a bunch of channels started getting on television, if somebody wanted to come into your home and influence you, they had to knock on your door, ring the doorbell, and walk inside and sit on your couch. But now we live in an interesting place, I don't know where my phone is, where your radio is influencing you. And there was a radio before that too, but for the sake of the story, let's pretend there wasn't. Your television is influencing you, whether it's news or whether it's reality television that isn't reality, whatever it is, movies, everything, sitcoms, whatever. Your cell phone, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. There used to have to be somebody who would come into your house to get into your house. Now you are influenced by every single thing that is in your home because everything is connected to the internet. Think of this, podcasts. I don't know. I have no idea who you are if you're listening, most likely. I'm blessed to know much of the community, but not everybody. We are influencing you right now, and we have no idea who you are, right? Like, I've never been to your home. I don't know where you live. You might live in a different country. It's the easiest time ever to be influenced, which also means it's the easiest time ever to be influenced negatively. That's my goal in this episode. But I really want you to think about that. At one point, somebody had to come to your house to influence you. Now, every day, on your cell phone, on your computer, on your TV, in your car, wherever you go, you are being influenced. So are you actually listening to the right people? And here's the other thing too. I don't know if we actually understand how much what we're viewing is influencing us. I've told you this before. One of my favorite shows ever is The King of Queens. And Kevin James is Doug Heffernan. He works for IPS. He drives a truck and delivers packages. Great show. It's a great show.
UPS?
IPS. You can't say UPS. That's a copyright.
Yeah.
IPS. International Parcel Service, I believe it's called.
Got it.
In that. And I've also now, with a new awareness, I've realized how many not so nice things are said in that. I mean, that's like a late 90s show, I think, when it started. So like there's a lot of things that are just like, I don't want to consume that. But I realize, and I've noticed that I am different when I watch that show. My energy is different. The jokes I make are different. My interactions with Taryn are a little bit different based on one TV show, right? It's not a super serious TV show, but like you kind of adopt the energy of the stuff that you're surrounding yourself with. So I figured this would be an interesting hyper-conscious episode, and here we are.
I'm extremely excited. This is going to be good. So here's the way I want to go about it. To articulate to our listeners how powerful these influences are, I want to have everyone look around the room they're in. And if you're driving, don't do this. Okay? But if you're in your home, look around the room you're in and identify 3 items. 3 items. So for me, this water bottle is going to be one of them. I have a little banner that says the word respect on it, and it has the definition of respect, which I've shouted out on this podcast several times. And I have my Oura ring on, which is right here. Okay, those are the 3 items I'm going to use. Kev, do you have your 3 items?
I have a coffee mug, my whiteboard, and your face. Is that okay?
Don't use my face.
Okay. I have my 3rd item.
You have your 3 items? Okay.
Yep.
Ready? I got this water bottle. Shout out to my client, Miles. Miles has a water bottle that tracks his water from a company called Hydrate Spark. And I bought one because he showed me his, and I was like, oh my God, that tracks your water every day? He was like, yeah, it blinks at you. It's awesome. I was like, oh my God, I need it. Mine. Must have it. So I ordered one that day. Thank you, Miles. This Oura ring, that Kevin also has an Oura ring.
I do.
Show and tell is better than just tell. Yeah, Kevin has it. And this was recommended to me by our one and only team member, Alessandro, who he tracks his sleep every single day. And I was like, oh my God, I want to track my sleep every day. I'm going to buy an Oura ring. This little respect framed thing, Emilia, I went into her office. This was at the beginning of 2023. And her word for the year was discipline. And she had this big thing printed out. It said discipline, and it had a definition. Doing that which you don't want to do, but you know is best for you. Discipline. And I was like, what's my word of the year? And I thought about it, and I felt pulled to respect. I want to respect others and be respected, because I think I get disrespected often, and I don't shield bump. And we've talked about that on the podcast, because honestly, I'm kind of a coward. So I'm doing better. So respect, the human right we all are born with, valuing yourself and one another, how everyone should treat each other regardless of their differences. That was from Emilia. So Alessandro, Miles, and Emilia influenced me so much. And now this is influencing my decision-making with water. Aura is influencing my decision-making with sleep. And that respect, subconsciously, I'm seeing it every day. And I'm demanding, for lack of better phrasing, to be respected more. And I'm respecting others more. That's the power of influences. And to Kevin's original point, are you listening to the right people? You can't just let anyone in. Jim Rohn says, stand guard at the door of your mind. You can't, if you want a rich, dynamic, positive life, this is Jim Rohn's words. If you want a rich, dynamic, positive life, you cannot put junk in your consciousness every day. He's like, you might as well try to make cake with cement. Very well said. So, Kev, what are your 3 items?
My 3 items. I have this mug here.
Okay.
Cat mug.
Cat mug. Who got you the cat mug?
I stole this from Taryn. Borrowed it from Taryn.
Commandeered, as is
I
the
commandeered
appropriate
it.
term. Commandeered it from Taryn. Okay, so influence is Taryn. Yep.
Yeah. Whiteboard. I have a big whiteboard here that I stole.
Okay.
I also stole from our office when we packed up the office.
So you stole it from me.
I stole it from you. Technically, you stole it from me.
Light,
you stole it from me first, if you recall correctly.
That's a fair assessment.
And then I stole it back.
That's a fair assessment.
I think this is also from the studio. I have it's a wax burner, a wax melt that makes the office smell really nice. I believe I also got that potentially from the studio, but I think I bought it for the studio.
Okay.
So I bought the whiteboard for the studio, and then I took it, and then I bought the wax melt.
All 3 items commandeered.
Take a look at this, though.
From people.
It's a good-looking mug.
Cat mug. Kevin is showing the cat mug to the screen for those of you who are not on YouTube. All right, so here's my point. Taryn, myself, and you are the influences in that case, but every person, place, thing, or idea in our life comes from somewhere, right? I said on the last episode, you can pay now and play later, or you can play now and pay later. That's a John Maxwell quote. And by the way, I wonder if it was originally his. Probably not. Right? The other day I said, sweetheart, transformation, you can't have transformation without the transfer of information. She was like, oh my God, that's so good. And I was like, she's like, where'd you get that? I was like, honestly, that one was mine, which is really cool. But the point that I'm making here is that most people are influenced by other people way more than they ever give credit to, including myself. I think about that all the time. It's like, Alessandro's the only reason I have this Oura ring, which means he's the reason Emilia has one and why you have one. Mm-hmm. And I have several clients getting Oura. And then I also have, I think Christina's getting an Oura ring as well, tracking her sleep, all because of Alessandro. We have an impact so far beyond ourselves, but we also have to be very, 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 very careful with who we let in. And so that's the premise of this episode.
It used to be a privilege. It used to require a privilege to get into somebody's home. I would have to know you and you would have to let me in. Like, oh yeah, I know Kev. Kev's good people. Come on in. Right? Like that's what it used to be, but it's not. I think we forget how our homes, wherever we live, used to be like a safe place where that's where you went away from people. Now that's where there's the most people. There's the most people in your house now.
Literally, now all it takes is I'm scrolling, and all of a sudden I see something pop up on my feed.
That's it. That's when I was thinking of what John Maxwell said in the book. That's what helped me is like nobody had ever really. I mean, yeah, you're being influenced, but it's different because there was a requirement to influence. Like you have to. I used to say this.
There was a larger barrier to entry.
Yeah, I say this all the time. Why do I think social media is making life hard for many people? Because models used to have to be on magazine covers. If you were a model, you were on a magazine cover, you'd have to go buy a magazine to see somebody on the cover, and then maybe you'd say, oh, that's not what my body looks like. Okay. Now it's just all you have to do is open your phone. It's like, oh my goodness, everybody is a model now. And
on top of that, it's not real because it's all photoshopped and edited and filtered. Yeah, it's very, very, very detrimental.
That really, for me, when I heard that in the book, it's like, oh, okay, interesting. At one point, the only people that could influence you at your home were the people who are allowed in. Now everybody is allowed in. Everybody. Everybody and everything is always there. It's up to you whether or not you understand that. Here's the other thing, too. You and I, we've been talking about this because we've been responding to messages and there was a lot of conversations going on before Next Level Live. There's a lot of conversations going on during group coaching filling. Tell me you haven't wanted to be on social media far less after you spent so much time on it.
Definitely.
It's like...
But I'm in the habit of being on it more. I don't know if you've struggled with this, but...
Definitely.
When we have an event coming up or group coaching or whatever, a lot of times we'll find certain listeners that we want to reach out and say, hey, by the way, group 10, like, are you game? Do you know anyone who'd be interested? And I end up in my DMs more.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's great. But the problem is I end up on social media more. And then that becomes a habit. And so I find myself opening Facebook like way more than I used to. And again, it's expand and contract. But same with you, right? So I need a deload. I need to take a minute here. And we're doing a redesign at NLU in general, not only with our own lives, but with the company.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda. I am a dental hygienist and a mom of 2 teenagers. I was first introduced to Kevin and Alan about 3 years ago. So that led me to book a consultation with Alan, and I showed up to that call in the lowest spot that I have been at in my entire life. He is a good human that genuinely wants the best in your life, your future, your love, your relationships, your wealth, and you have the chance to be in the same room or on the same call or have these two in your life in any way, then you are blessed.
Here's what I want to make sure I share with the listeners. I take it very seriously. Kevin and I don't talk about this enough, in my opinion, but like before these episodes, I'm preparing quite a bit. And the reason why is because I know that we have to earn your trust for us to be in those earbuds. I listen to other podcasts sometimes, and I'm proud of them for trying, and I know that there's different flavors of ice cream. I get it. And when it comes to the self-improvement podcast space, we're all selling ice cream, but some of us like Rocky Road, some of us like Black Raspberry, some of us like bubblegum. So I get it, why there's other podcasts. It is hard for me at times to learn from certain people. John Maxwell's book, The 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication, is very good. He's also written 110 books, so it should be good. It's very hard for me to read a brand new book from a brand new author because they're just not that good yet. And I think that Kevin and I want to earn your trust by making sure these episodes are extremely valuable, making sure they're extremely relevant, making sure that you know you're going to get the value, and making sure they're super implementable, meaning after this episode, you don't just ponder it, but you actually do something different. I was thinking about this last night. Every single part of our business model is to help other people achieve their goals on some level. On some level. Social media is one of the departments. Podcasts is one of the departments. Monthly meetups is one of the departments. Every single one of those could start with the purpose being to help our listeners blank, blank, blank. And it always has to do with helping you get to whatever your next level is. And we have to earn your trust every single day. You know, you're not going to watch a show that you don't know is going to keep going. We have a show on Amazon Prime that Emilia and I love. It's The Power of the Rings. It's a Lord of the Rings series, and we're not sure they're even going to do a second season. I think they are. I'm not sure when it comes out. But the point is we don't watch just any show. You know, I don't watch just any movie. I don't read just any book. And you shouldn't. It should be the best books and the best movies, the ones that people pour their heart and soul into. And, you know, I know that Kevin and I have worked for 1,300 episodes plus to try to earn your trust. And I hope that we have it. And I hope we keep earning it. At the end of the day, we want to make sure this podcast changes your life, because there's a lot of junk out there. There's a lot of candy. There's a lot of information that's not valuable. There's a lot of bad advice. And we don't ever want to give bad advice. And that's actually why we stopped having guests, actually, which I know, Kev, you wanted to get into.
Yeah, I've talked about this on other podcasts, mostly behind the scenes with the hosts, because they'll always ask questions at the end. But it got to the point where, I don't know, at the end of the day, I know Alan feels a responsibility to make sure everybody that comes on here is giving you good advice. How do you quantify good? I guess this is probably the best way to quantify it. If I know somebody's saying something on the podcast that they're not doing behind the scenes, when people say like, oh, success should be easy and this is how I achieve success. And it's like, that's not how you achieve success. We know that. We talked. That's not fair. We can't do that. That level of, somebody, I was on a podcast one time. It was very interesting. And we got to the end of the podcast and the guy was trying to sell me something, whatever. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, no, I'm good. I appreciate it. It's all good. And he was like, yeah, I don't even care about the listeners. I just use this as an opportunity to network. And I told him, I was like, well, that's not, you're messing with the wrong one. Like, I'm not interested. We're good. I appreciate you having me on. I don't want to buy your stuff. I'm not interested. And somehow we got on the conversation of guests. And I was like, well, we don't have guests anymore because, it got to the point where it didn't seem aligned, right? We had some amazing guests. We've had amazing guests. We've had amazing people on with amazing stories. We've had people who are super accomplished, some people who are some of the best in the world at what they do, but we've also had interviews that never saw the light of day because the people their character didn't meet our standards. And he said, well, that's not your job. I said, no, it is. It's our job. It's our responsibility to make sure we're delivering quality guests to our audience. I mean, yes, of course that's our job. That's our responsibility. Who's else, if you've never heard of somebody and you listen to them, that's most likely our responsibility. But that was a challenge. It was a challenge to do that, but that was based on the fact that I want to make sure the people that you're listening to at least understand you. Like, at least they understand who you are and your human experience, and they want to add value to that. Or they're not here to sell their stuff or whatever it is. That's been hard. That's very different than what other people are doing. But to Alan's point, we sit down and we try to reverse engineer every episode, like, oh, okay, where is this going to go? What's the value we're going to add? So I think that's something very unique that we take very seriously. The other interesting thing, Alan, I wonder if you've had this experience or had this experience. Was there a time, I think we've probably talked about this behind the scenes, there was a time where I went through all the people I followed, and I still do when people like seep through, and I'll think to myself, why did I follow this person originally? AKA, like, what did I want to be influenced in? And when I'll be honest, when Instagram first came out, I'm sure I was following a bunch of supermodels and a bunch of, whatever, things that made me feel good. And I don't want to be influenced by that. I don't want to be in the middle of my day Like, oh, here's something I would normally have to go look in some sort of magazine to see, and that's just right in front of me noon on a Wednesday when I'm trying to post on social media. That, when I say, who are you listening to? Are you listening to the right people? I don't even mean from the advice standpoint. I just mean from the energy, from the content, from the distraction. That's really what I mean. It's not even the words. Sometimes it's the actions and what they represent, and then what do you do with those actions after?
Well, I want to give a really good example. I'm grateful that you brought this up. There's one person on Instagram that I would never unfollow. There's a lot of people on Instagram that I would never unfollow, but one in particular that I want to bring up in this episode, which is James Clear. Kevin asked me, what's your example of a really powerful, influential, positive Instagram? And James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits, and he posts excerpts from the book that are really valuable. And another person would be Lauren Johnson. We had Lauren Johnson on this show. Her content, I think, is really powerful. I think it's really good advice. I think it's empowering. I think it's accurate. I think she's telling the truth, at least, to an extent that's helpful. And again, truth, it's like, well, here's two things that are both true. Life is really hard. Life is really easy. They're both true, but like life is very nuanced. So when I say truth, I mean a holistic perspective of the truth, of like, a lot of times life is really hard and it's what you do with it. And then sometimes there are easy phases. See, that's more truth. So anyways, James Clear, I would never unfollow, because every time I see his content, I'm like, ooh, that added value. That helped me become a better man, better person, better, more effective leader, whatever it is. And so hopefully everyone is doing that all the time with what they allow into their mind. You have, the five senses: seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, and hearing. And then you have the sixth sense, which I think is your intuition. And the inputs that you allow into your world are going to dictate your behavior, and your behavior is going to dictate the results that you get in life. Why would I ever want... It's like, same with food. If you eat crappy food, you're going to be out of shape. And again, there's nuances to that, obviously, calories and macros and all that. But like, if you constantly eat terrible food, you're most likely going to have... your body's not going to function optimally. The same goes for your mind when it comes to this. And I think that's the point, is we used to not have to stand guard as diligently, because it used to be a ring of the doorbell or a ring of the phone. And now it's not. It's constantly Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat. Like, it's always there. And I'm very selective with who I follow and what apps I use. And if I could go back to my younger self, you can look back and go, you know what? Over the last decade, here's the things that made the biggest positive difference, and here's the things that didn't. And if you can just get rid of those, and that's what I do in my coaching. A lot of my clients are younger. I just say, honestly, in hindsight, I wish I had done X, Y, Z. You get the chance to do that. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's last thing before we go. It's unconscious. A lot of us are being influenced unconsciously by unconscious habits that we don't even know we're doing. Again, myself included. When I get lost in the sauce and I'm scrolling through social media, of course I'm being influenced. I won't say negatively, but not necessarily positively. If the content isn't created to be positive, there might not be a lot of positivity within it. So this is an interesting thing. This is an important thing, because I think this is a problem that's not necessarily going to get better, and it's a problem that's not going to solve itself, right? Our attention is what everybody is vying for now more than ever. So it's just something to be conscious and aware of. Again, does that mean you have to like go into monk mode and go meditate in a cave and not consume any content? No. But just understand that whether you know it or not, that everything you look at, everything you listen to, everything you feel is influencing you in some way, shape, or form.
100%. Think about your pet right now.
Oh, my little dudes.
Yeah. See? That influenced Kevin right there. My voice influenced him. He focused on his pets, and that made him feel good. Now imagine I got him to focus on something negative. That's not helping you. It's derailing you, and you got to be I think everyone has to earn your trust when it comes to the influences. And that's why I've sailed away from so many of my past relationships is not necessarily intimate relationships, but just in general. It's like, honestly, that's not helpful. And we all know, this will be the last thing I say, It's like, Kev, I joke with you behind the scenes. I'll like ask you advice about something and you'll tell me something and we'll joke and I'll be like, not helpful. It's kind of like that. Some advice is just not helpful. And I'm not saying Kevin's isn't. I'm just playful with him. But on social media, how many of the things are we watching that are not helpful? I mean, that is an alarming question. The answer is alarming, I should say. The question isn't. But and that's all it is. How much of what you're consuming is helping you be a better person, helping you have a better, rich, dynamic, positive life, helping you become a better leader or better spouse or better business owner or whatever it is. So yeah, very, very important. Every decision you make is predicated on the inputs that come into your consciousness, and hopefully Next Level You is amongst the top of that list in terms of helpful.
Next Level Nation, I had a wonderful call the other day with a prospective client. This person was not a client at the time. They said, hey, I want to chat with you. I want to learn about what your mindset coaching looks like. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And they asked me on this free call, they said, what's your coaching style? And I said, honestly, if you can't tell from the podcast, pretty laid back. I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring the energy. I'm going to ask you about your life. And then I'm just going to kind of dig in on where I think we need to focus the most. That's it. It's pretty simple. I'm a pretty simple creature. I just keep it easy and real. And they're like, awesome. I want to work with you. I was like, oh, cool. I'm being valued from being myself. I love that. So if that resonates with you and you hear the podcast and you say, you know what, I'd be interested to see what Kev says behind the scenes. I'd love to hop on a free call, see if it's a fit. I'm only taking 5 clients because the majority of my time is with Next Level Podcast Solutions, but I have a few more spots available and I would love to chat with you and learn more about you to see if you are a good fit.
Well, Kev, you've definitely helped me think differently, which has
that.
Created many, many, many positive changes in my life.
I appreciate that.
You definitely will get people thinking differently, which is good because if they want different results, they're going to have to think differently. Okay. Every single month, as you know, we have something called a monthly meetup. If you're a new listener, this is new to you. The next one, do you know the date by any chance? I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I got you. I think it's April 4th. It's May. Sorry, May 4th.
Okay, I'm like, it can't be April 4th because that already happened. Okay, so May 4th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the 3 most valuable things you never learned about money. Money is a part of our lives whether we like it or not. I liken it to a spider. We have a team member who hates spiders. That person knows who I'm talking about. And if she's super scared of spiders and she's super fearful of spiders, she's never going to go near one. She's never going to learn about one. We're always going to be afraid of that which we don't understand. And so if you don't understand money, you're going to avoid money. And if you avoid money, you're never going to understand money. So come join us. It's a private event. That's my favorite part about monthly meetups is they're virtual events that are completely private. We can talk about our money story in a way we cannot do it on this show. Kevin and I both had a lot of money challenges growing up. Okay, and we can get very detailed and very in-depth so you can start thinking about your money journey. I hope that you join us. The registration link will be in the show notes.
Next Level Nation tomorrow for episode number 1314. What boundary do you need to set the most right now? I think we actually talked about boundaries on the last meetup, and I think that's just something that everybody can take value from, myself included, Alan included, so we're going to dive into that. As always, we love you, we appreciate you, grateful for each and every one of you. And sorry, for those listening, when I'm doing that, Alan's getting ready for his sign-off, and he's swinging his microphone back and forth. It got me. We love you, we appreciate you, we're grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans, we have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Mute the wrong advice, Next Level Nation.